Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at, whatever time it is. My name is Walter Raimundo, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on my industry case study for Full Sail University. So, what is the reason I came to Full Sail University? Well, simply put, I want to be a music producer. A music producer is essentially somebody who creates the listener experience and manages timelines for release. What I'm trying to do in simple terms is execute the artist's vision in a timely manner so the world can have it in the best version that it's supposed to be. Why do I want to be a music producer? Well, ever since I was young, I always wanted to be a part of creative projects, whether they were art or music, dance, whatever. But really, I want to be an influence for today's music. I want to be more uplifting. I want to be the change, right? And of course, I want to help artists find their sound and execute their visions. Because at the end of the day, I'm a supporting role. This is their vision. What inspired me? Well, when I was younger, I would watch behind the scenes videos of my favorite producers like Kanye West and Metro Boomin, Pharrell. All of them, they would be working on, some of my favorite songs. And ever since being a pianist, since 6 years old, I've always found new ways to express myself. But being a beat maker and a mixing engineer and just a songwriter, I've worn many hats, but all of them have been creative, right? So, all I wanted to do was, work with artists and help them develop their vision so the world had a finished product that was polished, you know? So, in the meantime, what are supporting careers? Well, I gave you a sneak peek and I already listed some of them. One of them is a beat maker. So, a beat maker is somebody who takes their computer, plugs it into one of these things, goes doom, 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 and makes beats. Well, kind of a joke, but kind of serious as well. Because this is what I do. I usually send my music off to people online, or I might have them come here and they can record, and that's when I really get to play music producer. But let's go back to the beat maker thing. They're essentially somebody who compiles melodies, drums, bass lines, live instrumentation on sometimes sequence drums, like I'm very familiar with. So, what is necessary to being a beat maker? Well, an education isn't required, but it does help building skills and relationships through networking. One of the main reasons why I came to Full Sail University. Musicianship is also very necessary, I'd say, as far as like a basic understanding of how chords relate to emotion, right? Minor chords, sad. Major chords, happy. Very vague way to put it, but essentially you get the gist. You need to understand what chords emit what. Computer skills using a DAW. In today's generation, if you don't know how to use a DAW, you gotta learn. We're not in the 80s. We're not in the 90s. You gotta learn. Because if you're trying to get your ideas from your head onto the world, your liaison is the computer. This is the middleman. So if you're trying to, be a beat maker, you should learn a DAW or two. Just go on YouTube. And of course, basic song structure. So just understanding that music has peaks and valleys, right? You have an intro, a verse, a chorus, etc. Now, how does beat making support my dream job? Well, having a fundamental understanding of what makes a good instrumental is half the battle, because you want to know, this is good music, right? Okay, now it's time to put the artist on there. That's the first supporting role. Okay? Another supporting career would be mixing engineer, because there's somebody who combines all of the sound into one polished product. Now, essentially, they're cleaning up the audio to a professional standard, right? You have seamless transition in quality from song to song. So if you're listening to a song on the radio and then they were to put your song in there, would there be a noticeable difference? The answer should always be no, right? You're somebody who allows for the instruments to hold their own space, while working cohesively, right? Maintaining the artist's vision. Because if the artist had a very subtle, dark sound, and you went for like this big, bright sound, that is not the artist's vision. You're not accomplishing that, right? So what is necessary? Education, again, is not required, but it does build the skills and relationships through networking. You have a strong technical ability using a DAW and knowledge of tools like EQ, compression, time-based effects, etc. Now, skills I'll have at graduation are all the same skills as listed before, but more technical skills and a greater understanding in today's market, of course. How does this support my dream job? Well, understanding what makes a good mix enhances the vision of a song, further leading to a greater understanding of what it takes. Russell Elevado is one of the people I looked up for as a mixing engineer because he worked on one of my favorite albums when I was younger, which is D'Angelo Voodoo. He's very analog based. His style is, a very warm and not super harsh sound. It's not dark necessarily, but he had a very nice, warm, organic sound. Another person would be Teddy Riley, who is a beat maker turned music producer. Right, he wore many hats and he worked for some of the biggest names. He aligns with my goals because he's learned everybody's role and what it takes to make a hit record. And I'm sorry if it seemed like I was rushing at the end, but I wanted to stay within the time limit. I see that I went over just a little bit, so hopefully I don't get deducted on my grade. But I did want to be elaborate and express how I feel about being a music producer. And so I hope this didn't seem too rushed at the end. But and I don't know if I mentioned this, but my backlight is broken. My cue and fill are fine. I have those up right now, but my toddler decided to push it off my desk, so it is broken. I would show it, but I don't know if I get docked points for disorganization. I made sure behind me was clear, but that's my broken lamp right there. Don't know if you can see it. So yeah, I'm using like this light back there for my backlight, if you will. I know it's not a lamp, but it's the best I got. But anyway, back to the routine, because now I'm an extra minute over. Thank you guys for listening to my presentation. Again, this is my industry case study on why I want to be a music producer and why I am attending Full Sail University for that. So thank you.